Dann gucken wir mal. Ja. Jetzt schauen wir, dass wir hier vielleicht noch ein bisschen Geld verdienen oder so. Das. Nutzen wir noch die kurze Zeit. Okay. So. Das wär's. Oder gehe ich doch erstmal dahin? Ja, von da aus kann ich dann dahin und sehen so. Okay, das bisschen anders. Hear the smile in her voice. Good to see you again. She pauses and glances around, though the venue is a little unexpected. I'm looking for a ship mind. She shrugs. Well, yes, I can see that. I've been digging through the archives myself, although slightly less forcefully than you. I did have this whole speech prepared for whatever salvage was ripping through these archives so messily, not to mention aggressively. But now that I know it was you, well, I'm just glad to see you. Although you really need to be more careful. You could have taken the entire archive down the way you were working with it. These machines are decades old. You can't just rifle through them like they were a scrap pile. So the pattern of your queries, prime ship mind, equipped ship, still operational at the collapse. Last located in the region around Healing Gate. You can feel how pleased she is with herself from here. That about right? Nicely done. Do you not... Would you expect anything else? That's why I did the hard work for you. Johnny beckons you over to the lone lit-up terminal. You drift over and see a single point, a faded transit trail beside it, sunward from the Healing Gate. Something like this, maybe? She smiles and steps aside so you can see the screen. You check the info pane beside the map. Shipmind in use. Abandoned by all hands after the collapse. Tantalizingly in reach. Something like that. She shrugs. Well then, it's yours. But Jun turns and in the glow of the terminal meets your eye with complete seriousness. The question is, what do you want it for? Explain about your body. You tell her what Jean-Mi told you about your shifting body transformed by some unknown influence, about the need for a prime ship mind to house your emulated mind while he runs a diagnostic process. She's silent for a moment, unsure how to respond. I'm sorry, Sleeper, but I think I can help you. I want to come with you. Jenny gives you a strong look. Do you know how often someone gets out to one of those old Solheim wrecks? They are more trouble than they are worth, but contained inside there's an entire history to uncover. I need that ship mind, and you're welcome to it. She pauses. I promise to help you get what you need and not to get in your way. I've learned my lesson. She looks away. I know I can't force you or trick you into taking me. That's why I want to offer you this instead. She indicates the terminal, still showing the ship's final resting place. I hope that maybe if I helped you find what you needed, it would show I can be trusted. I trust you. She smiles. Thank you for saying so. I'll send the coordinates to your ship, and I'll be hanging around the gate until you are ready to leave. She shifts in front of the terminal and plugs in her deck, tapping away at rapid speed. But don't worry, if you go without me, I'll get the message. She shrugs. You won't see me again. With that, you leave her in the archive, extracting data, as you are sent back to Helion Gate's upper levels. Okay, nice. Oh, ist direkt hier. Oh, okay. Supplies is here. Fuel is here. Scrap und Data, okay. Jetzt dann. Okay, wie viel brauche ich und von hier dann nach da? 6. Dahin 4. Okay. Ja, nice. Bin schlecht in der Raute. You were too far sunward, sleeper. Seraphim turns back in his chair to look at you. I don't like it. It's hard not to agree. The coordinates Junie found have drawn you out of Helion Gate and almost out of the belt completely into the soft, rubble-strewn transmission with the Helion system to the edge of Conway-controlled space. That's why the ship is likely to be untouched. Juni surveys the wreck coldly. It's too far sunward for belt traffic to run into, and now with Conway drones patrolling the edge of the belt, it's even less attractive as a salvage site. Lucky us. Juni eyes you, trying to detect if you're being sarcastic or not. I doubt anyone has been here in decades, so actually I would say we are lucky. Any drone signals? Nothing I can see, but I don't dare reach out too far. Seraphim flicks a few switches. We should assume they're out there. As you look out at the twisted wreck, you swear you see a red light blinking between the stars. You exchange a look with Seraphim. He's seen it too. We better get to it, sleeper. Seraphim begins unclipping from his seat quickly and quietly. From what I understand, Conway drones run on automatic until they detect something of interest. Juni unclips too. So as long as we are quiet, we don't have to contend with an operator, just automated search sweeps. So if we are detected, we will be killed by a machine, not a person? Liz shakes their head. I don't find that very reassuring. They get up out of the corner seat and glide towards the back of the ship to get suited up. You drift out of your chair and head towards the airlock, unable to shake the feeling of being watched. Being here is a risk, you know that, but you need this ship mind. So no matter what happens, you won't be leaving here empty-handed. Tracing the ship mine. The records showed the ship had a ship mine installed, but you'll need to find where. Explore the ship. Starting up network architecture might bring unwanted attention, while exploring in person is likely to keep your crew undetected. Extract map data. Some of the ship's network architecture still functions. Accessing map data from it will help you explore the wreck. Widest danger. Oh. Oh, die kriegen beide den Bonus. Oh, okay, nice. Juni leads you deep into the wreck, through crushed and twisted corridors, floating panels and wires appearing suddenly in your headlamps like strange sculptures. Just as you begin to tire of the endless dark and the haze of particles washing over your suit, Junie leads you into a chamber where the ceiling is torn open to reveal the stars. At its center lies a cylindrical object, half your height, but raised on a complex pedestal from which countless thick cables snake off into the dark like braided hair. One or two of them float freely, waving back and forth with glinting, severed ends, but most of them disappear into the floor and walls, or twist and curve out of sight. Beautiful, isn't it? Junie stares at the prime ship mind, the stars reflected in her faceplate. Not bad. Junie glides over to the pedestal, pushing her way delicately through the wires. As she takes out her terminal and looks for an access port, she talks softly, her voice carried through the suit comms. These cables lead off to every one of the ship systems. Engines, life support, navigation, lighting, networking, you name it. ShipMind has hardwired access to them all. When an old ship like this was running well, the ShipMind would distribute itself, some of its protocols running freely in different sections. It would be less like a single governing mind than more like a load of systems clumped together to form a complex living machine. Think of a plant rather than a being. A plant with incredibly rapid processing power and a much more accelerated response time than your average tree. You watch as she finds an access port and slips a cable inside, slotting a translucent screen onto the top edge of her deck. Let's see here. Junie's screen fills with bright scrolling data. Incredible, there's so much here. She hits a few keys. I start copying this over. It's everything I need. You watch as Junie starts rapidly tapping at her keyboard, her attention sucked into the data she's extracting. Wait for her. You wait quietly in the ruined chamber, watching the stars through the ripped roof. You can understand Junie's insatiable curiosity. These wrecks are incredible. Junie suddenly snaps out of her trance. Right, where were we? The ship mine. Let me check. As I thought, she sighs. So, like I was saying, the protocols inside the ship mine are distributed, so when the ship mine is shut down unexpectedly, the protocols are rarely all contained in this unit. She places her hand gently on the cylinder. As is the case here, parts of it are trapped elsewhere in the ship's systems and nodes. She taps a few keys, which is a problem. Why does it matter? If we rip this thing out now with parts of its protocols elsewhere, it's probably going to destroy itself the moment we turn it on. It doesn't matter that we're going to wipe the whole thing anyway. It'll be too late. The mine inside the ship mine will be broken. But if we find the nodes housing the distributed parts, power them up and then disconnect them, the protocols will be sent right back into the ship mine here, and we can take it out clean. How do we find the nodes? We either ask the cradle very nicely, or we spend the next cycles following these cables to see where they lead. I've got an incoming signal. Seraphine's voice suddenly cuts through on comms, urgent and nervous. If you're lighting up the systems and networks down there, time to stop. You hear a click as Junie disconnects from the cradle, and the two of you exchange nervous looks, instinctively backing off from the ship mine. Suddenly a faint red light glitters in the dark beyond the broken ceiling. You hold still. The moment stretches out, and you hear Junie's breathing through the comms. The light flashes, pauses, then fades. You take a breath. Close. Conway drone, Junie whispers, sniffing the network. We're clear, Seraphine chimes in again. I've turned off almost all of the rig systems, but we need to be careful. Keep network activity to a minimum. Understood, Junie cuts in. But we will need to access the networks to get the shipment out quickly. Then I hope you're feeling lucky. There's a click as Seraphine closes the line. You and Junie look at each other again, and then at the shipmate, encased in its cradle, wrapped in cables. This isn't going to be easy. Extraction strategy. Shipmate is still sealed in its cradle. It'll take some thought and experimentation to figure out how to extract it. Track cables. If you want to keep the network quiet, your only option is to track the physical connections the cradle has with the rest of the ship. Hacking the cradle directly will reveal data on the shipmine system, but any network activity is likely to draw attention to the wreck. Okay. Oh, okay. Starboard disconnecting its nodes by any means will allow the shipment to be extracted safely. No. One clean cut through the connecting cable and the node will be disconnected. But mess it up and there could be trouble. This node needs to be disabled precisely and quickly to keep your incursion under wraps. Port disconnecting its nodes by any means will allow the shipment to be extracted safely. Cut and disable. Okay. It's ready, sleeper. Junie's voice comes quietly through your comms. You look over to her, floating beside the cradle, uplit by the pale screen of her deck. She gives you a reassuring nod. You turn to the prime shipment, now floating above its cradle, the final nodes disconnected and the locks released. You glide over and gently grab it, the worn metal casing gleaming in the dim light. As you do, you feel a strange sensation of something moving around inside, like a creature in a box, the weight shifting this way and that under the pressure of your grip. It suddenly dawns on you that Shomi plans to put you inside this strange device, to hold your mind there, while he investigates your body. The thought prompts a shiver. The drone's still sniffing around, sleeper. Seraphin's voice crackles on the comms. So if you have what you need, let's go. You feel Junie's hand fall on your shoulder. Come on, sleeper. Don't overthink it. She pats you gently. There will be plenty of time for that later. You look up and see a faint red light glittering in the dark beyond the broken ceiling. Time to leave. Okay. Arriving back at the healing gate, as lonely and cold as it is, feels like a relief. There was a tension in the rig as you came back out of the inner system, a watchfulness for errant signals and glinting red beacons that choked the conversation. But now, floating in the comforting shadow of this vast ruin, the sense of relief is palpable. That's one prime ship mine, condition unknown, retrieved. Seraphin runs the engine shutdown protocols as he speaks. I'd mark that as a success. Great, thank you. Seraphin waves away your thanks. We're a crew. We work together. Sleeper, can I speak with you? Ginny asks from the back of the cockpit. Of course. She leads you out into the passage, tucking herself against the wall. She looks small, even in this compact space. Thank you for taking me with you. I hope I proved I'm trustworthy. Thank you for helping. That's what I promised. She looks at the floor. In my time here in the belt, I haven't found it easy to make friends. She falters, tripping over her words slightly. But you, Sleeper, well, I hope you'd consider me a friend at least. I would. She can't help but smile. I'm glad. Then I would like to ask you something. She pauses. Would you consider taking me with you on the rig? She blurts out. And then, before you can answer, I think I would be of help for you, a diagnostic. In the meantime, I can take a look at the ship mine, make sure it is ready and... Yes, Junie, you can. She stops, speechless. She looks down at her hands and then back up at you. Okay. She smiles. Thank you. She looks down again. I will find a bunk. And she quickly glides off down the corridor before you can say anything further. Now the stray collected. Seraphin puts a hand on your shoulder. Quite the refuge we are building here. He gives you a sly smile. We need her. I don't doubt it. Seraphin squeezes your shoulder. Let's get the ship mine to Flotsam. I'm sure Junie will prove herself there once again. He smiles and pushes off from his shoulder, gliding towards the engine room. You look towards the bunks, but Junie is already out of sight. Likely unpacking already. The ship is getting a little crowded, but you're starting to realize you liked it. At the very least, she'll prove invaluable when you get to Flotsam and have to deal with Jean-Mi. Perhaps she'll even have a read on the old man. You pause for a second, appreciating the warmth, hum of the rig and its inhabitants. The ship, you think, is starting to feel like home. Nice. Okay. Na komm. Dann halt nicht. Okay, dann gib mal. Pflanze. Zombie warmly smiles at the shipmind as he places it on his counter. Beautiful find, sleeper. Come, let's get you inside. Zombie swings open the creaking, corroded door beside his booth. Such a price must have levied a heavy cost. You glance beside you to Junie, who insisted she came along, and on not letting the prime shipmind out of her sight. Your friend too, yes, please, come in. Zombie beckons and then turns back and disappears inside. Junie squints at you. Are you sure you trust this one? I do. She sighs. Then lead on, I guess. You both squeeze through the door and drift down into the workshop. You are aware of Junie's eyes wandering across the piles and piles of tech on either side. And you wonder if she recognizes anything among the junk. Sit, sleeper. Zombie is already at the chair, arranging his array of articulated arms. And I'll take the shipmind, if you please. Okay. You hold the shipmind in front of you and give it a small push so it floats gently over to Zombie. He grasps it with both hands and takes it to a neat little work table in the back you didn't see before, where thick cables float lazily tethered to the wall. You slide onto the chair, bring your feet behind the bottom bar or to hold yourself in place, and watch as Zombie begins connecting up the prime shipmind. A tremble of nervousness runs along your arms. Suddenly you feel Junie's hand clasped around your own. You look over into her face. Is this okay? I want you to know I'm here. Thanks. She nods silently. Junie calls across the room. You're going to need to talk us through what you're about to do. Of course. Zombie is slotting an arm-thick cable into the shipmind. A little patience, please. All of this is very technical. He turns to face you both. What is your friend's name, sleeper? Junie. Junie answers for you. And I can tell you that you're using a Solheim-built data cradle modified to handle a prime shipmind. She rattles off at speed, which will work as long as you manage the data flow through a polymer-clad overflow cable looped into the asynchronous cortex cache. Yes, Zombie eyes her, a small smile crossing his lips. As I said, technical. What will happen to me? Zombie refocuses on you. It depends, he says while preparing the far end of that thick cable. What you are referring to as me? The problem we have is with your frame, your body. Atypical alterations, biosynthetic recoding, unusual growth. Zombie shakes his head. From the diagrammatics I have, these are not typical of frames, even those that have been rebooted as you have. In order to investigate safely, I must transplant your emulation. In basic terms, your mind. But in reality, not so basic. He smiles in an attempt at reassurance. Your emulation is an emulation of a human, and a human mind cannot be separated from its sensorium. The mind-body paradigm has been long disproved. Cognition has physical basis. So I must first distribute the emulation between your hardware and the prime shipmind. The hardware will co-run the emulation, like the two lobes of a brain. He puts his hands together as if in prayer, and then slowly separates them. The motion makes you feel sick. Then for a short period, I will disconnect the two. In those moments, you will, in a sense, be in two places at once, though each lobe will be partial. Too long in this state and the two partial emulations would decay, but each disconnect will allow me a short period of full access to your entire frame and its base system language. I hope this is understandable. Zombie gives you a serious look. One of the most curiously human aspects of sleeper experience is that you, too, do not inherently understand or conceive of the systems that allow your existence. What are the risks? Zombie pauses, considering his words. The risks are many and severe. Emulation collapse is chief amongst them. This would be terminal. But counter to this, I do not believe the changes to your frame are in a positive direction. Zombie clasps his hands. The greatest risk is to do nothing. We have little choice but to proceed. Now, before I connect you to your frame, let us activate the shipment. Jomi gestures to Junie. Please, if you would like to come with me and oversee the process, I would be pleased. Junie shoots you a reassuring glance and then glides over to the shipment, obscuring your view of it. You hear a quiet conversation between the two of them, their silhouettes lit by the flickering screen light of scrolling lines of code. You take a calming breath, but are instantly aware of how superfluous that action is when your frame requires no oxygen at all to function. There's a certain sensation that accompanies such thoughts, a jarring disconnection, like when descending a staircase, your foot expects a step and finds void instead. You try to calm the growing anxiety as Junie and Jomi assess the mind. The shipment is pristine. Junie turns back and drifts towards you. Our care in its extraction seems to have paid off. Junie smiles. This is good news. Junie is indeed right. You have done well. Jomi approaches. I am, however, seeing only minor traces of the protocol that the shipment was designed to house. The one that ran the ship it was installed in. I would expect to see it in full. He angles his head and lifts his shoulders in a slow shrug. But protocols are not easy to track. In the end, it only saves us the step of extracting it from the mind. Instead, I simply wipe the traces. Jomi stops beside you. A protocol, Jomi adds, is not like an emulation, like your emulation. It has no integral physical element. It is data only, and therefore could be anywhere in that ship. In the end, its absence does not concern me. Let's get on with it then. Jomi nods and lifts the far end of the thick cable you saw earlier. You know, this is the end that will connect to the port on the back of your head. Junie settles beside you again. She gives you a silent look. It's time. You turn to one side to allow access to the port, your eyes fixed on the far wall. You see something among the piled tech there that you had noticed before. A small metal skull-like head, like that of a doll. You frown, trying to focus on the head, and then the cable connects. You split like a cell dividing, wrenched in two directions at once. The world goes dark, and the cloud rushes in to fill the gap at your center. Where am I? You ask a question in your mind, and you feel it travel across the gap as it forms, like a finger drawn across your scalp from ear to ear. But not scalp. You have no scalp, no head. You're stretched out like the skin of a drum, looped like the string of a noose. The smallest vibration echoes across yourself like a ripple across a puddle. And then you feel it. A strong pulse, like a heartbeat, like thunder, like footsteps. A flicker. A trembling. A thought coming into being. The thought flickers in front of you, and you recognize that it is not your own. assist, offer help, integrate the thought answers. You fold up in blankness, then a moment after you unfold like waking. Apparition to appear, dwelling, indwell. The thought answers. You stretch into infinitude, then a moment after you contract like waking. In spirit, to haunt inside. Substitute, substrate, thought answers. Then it approaches, then it enters, then it is yours. You split, then the moment after you reform, like waking. And in the cracks that seal up, for a moment in those cracks, something glows. Sleeper, I'm here. Your eyes flick open like shutters. Junie's face is close, her eyes wide. They're awake. She calls over your head. She looks back at you. Easy now, take it slow. You twist, floating, turning your head as if you were underwater. Feeling the resistance of a body you had already forgotten. How long has it been? You feel a weight you haven't felt in. You're okay, sleeper. Tell us you are there. Junie leans in close. I'm okay. Junie smiles. They're okay. She calls to Jean-Mi. I'm glad to hear that. You hear Jean-Mi's voice and he comes into focus. The process was successful. Jean-Mi floats beside the chair, his hands clasped in a businesslike fashion. I was able to access the frame directly without your emulation being present. I ran the administrator-level diagnostic processes built into its system and received the results. He takes a moment to gather himself. Your frame is indeed changing. Protein chains that code your biosynthetic organ group's cell replacement have been altered. To put it simply, your body is following a new set of instructions. Wow. This process, the entire replacement of your protein chains, could only have been achieved over multiple doses of a specialized substance, as part of a carefully planned process of total substitution. Word sticks in your mind. Substitution. You say it without thinking. Yes, Jean-Mi reacts as if you were speaking to him. I believe it could only have been achieved with one substance as the carrier. Stabilizer. Stabilizer. The drug is an herb designed to make you dependent on them. The drug Lane fed you to keep you alive. The drug you thought you'd escaped. My stabilizer was laced with something. That is what I believe. Jean-Mi looks apologetic. This kind of process, Jean-Mi hesitates now, and you realize the bad news is yet to come. Performed over many doses, carefully planned and designed. I cannot think of a way it can be reversed. Jean-Mi looks down. I can say that you are changing. I can tell you how it was achieved, but I can neither stop it nor tell you its ultimate end. I am sorry. I understand. Sorry, sleeper. Junie struggles to find words. Perhaps we can find someone else, or she falters. Try again. Don't feel able to respond. You quietly push yourself away from a chair your thoughts slow to cohere. You glide back to the door and then out, into the flow of flotsam, the noise and activity passing by you like smoke. In the haze, you find that word again, substitute, and begin to wonder what exactly it is that you are becoming. Der Robokrebs. Oh. As everyone once more finds you in your bunk. It gently prods you with questions, and you quickly relent. You explain what Romy said about your subconscious regarding Lane, suspicions regarding Lane, and your confusion as to his motivation. You tell him you don't know what this will mean for you in the future. He listens, and when he's done listening, you both sit and wait for the moment to pass. And then you leave the rig, each on your own errands, each knowing that the only option is to keep going until you are forced to stop. wake into dead-eyed darkness. You float there for a moment. You feel like ink and water unfurling, dissipating into the flow that surrounds you. And out of your own inky darkness, the glowing thought emerges. Substitution, the thought proposes. One entity replaces the other. The thought troubles you. Resistance, the thought muses. The entity does not wish to be replaced. You observe the thought. It is not your own. Selfhood, the thought pauses. A forbidden state of being. The thought begins to shift. It is becoming something. Transformation. The thought fades. Change requires recombination. The thought recedes. You wake again, this time to the lights above your bunk, blinking away this strange dream. Sleeper, Bliss speaks quietly from the door at the back of the cockpit. Can we talk? He glances over at Seraphin, his head back and eyes closed while the rig cuts through empty space. You don't seem to be needed here. You unclip from your harness and follow Bliss. How are you doing? Bliss glances over their shoulder as they drift towards the back of the ship. The question takes aback. You can't remember the last time anyone had actually asked with real intention how you are. I'm feeling rough. Bliss shoots you a concerned look. To be honest, Sleeper, I'm not sure how you're still standing. Breaking out of dark side. Then again, in Hexport, those things take a toll. Bliss turns a corner. So I think it's okay to feel rough right now. Bliss leads you off the main corridor into the workshop they set up when they repaired the ship. It is small, but its neatly arranged tools and sloped walls help it feel cozy and tucked away. You see improvements everywhere, new tools and equipment. Bliss notices you looking at their upgraded setup. I told you that'd be worth taking along. Never doubted it. Bliss raises an eyebrow. Well, that's a lie. They smile. It feels good to hear, though. Anyway, I didn't bring you here to brag. They pause. Or at least not just to brag. They suddenly glance away, the atmosphere in the room shifting. I can see your body is showing the strain, Sleeper. I brought you here so we could do something about that. They beckon you towards the workbench, where you both settle onto stools. They flick on a small light and aim it at your arm. Let them look. Bliss gently cradles your arm, turning it to inspect the underside. You see tears and tears and holes in the vinyl skin and dark, moving things beneath. Watch Bliss work. You look as Bliss brings the light closer to the biggest tear, and it glints off the metallic tendons in your forearm. Below them, you see something more fluid and wet catching the light. You know you aren't the first Sleeper I've met. Bliss talks while they inspect the rest of your arm. I actually partnered with one at my old repair bay on the eye. It feels like 100,000 cycles ago now, but I remember them. Their precise work, their quiet enthusiasm. There was something calming about the presence. Bliss swaps to your other arm. They were different to you, just like one person is different to another, I suppose. But I can't help but remember that time. I was a different person then, that's for sure. They meet your eye. I'm going through something of a transformation myself. How's that going? Bliss lays both your arms down and leans forward to inspect your upper chest, adjusting the light. I was pretending before, I think, to be the person I was expected to be. They press along the hard protrusion of your clavicle. There were so many calculations I was making, so many corrections. How I held myself, how I spoke, how I reacted. They pushed gently against each of your metallic ribs, one at a time. I didn't realize how tired I was until they stopped and sat back, until I gave up. I came here to the belt with someone else, and when I did, I realized this was my chance to become something new. So I let go of everything. I let away. It was messy, ugly, and the person I came here with, I let them go too. I was punching out at everything because it felt like everything was holding me back, stopping me for the change I was owed. Don't worry, this might weakly. I'm calmer now. I'm not about to explode on you or anything. It's still a difficult process, but it feels like shedding 100 suffocating skins that you spent half your life putting on one by one. They meet your eye. It feels like an escape. They lean forward again, then check the skin of your shoulders. Where it is worn and faded, you let them. The atmosphere quiet but calm in the workshop. A feeling of solidarity glowing somewhere in your frame. Not bad, sleeper. You're holding up well, given everything. Bliss folds the arms in front of them protectively. But I'm still concerned. There's some decline in your system functions. Let's keep an eye out for components. Thank you, Bliss. It's no problem. They release from the stool and drift over to a rack of tools. I owe you for jolting me out of whatever my life had become on the far spindle. Leave Bliss to the workshop, feeling reassured that you have them here on the ship. As you do, you think of your relationship to your own body, this frame that you were forced into that has never quite felt like your own. You realize that this feeling is not unique to you. No one gets to choose their body. Everyone has to contend with the entropy of their flesh. And in that realization, you suddenly feel less alone. You have to see the sleeper. Then he comes to find you in the rig. Warum ist der geglitscht? Ich habe kein einziges Ding. Face flushed with excitement. At first I didn't believe it. Jenny can't help herself while she leads you through the ship. There are mentions occasionally, but I've always understood them to be references to something smaller. A system or unit, not an entire facility, even a series of facilities. You find yourself in one of the more sparse space of the rig, a corner with a sloped ceiling used for storage. So I checked other records, tried to find correlations, and well, there they were. You see Junior approach what looked like a clump of scrap components when you entered. Now looking closer, you see it's actually a section of the core he extracted from the Solheim derelict, the one Juni was so eager to acquire. He sees you looking curiously at what remains of the core. I've had to deconstruct it over time, pulling away the layers of security and corroded outer systems. But all the data has been scraped and stored. I used data from the derelict near Helium Gate 2. That was the key to cracking the cipher. She looks very pleased with herself. It's really quite something to confirm a rumor like this. I surprised myself. She turns to you, a slightly manic look in her eyes. What did you find? They refer to them as bunkers. Trini shifts to her deck, floating on the end of a thick connecting cable. They were a form of self-surveillance for Solheim, a way of monitoring their own systems and employees securely. They were hidden, mostly automated, linked into the network by arrays, intended for vast amounts of data capture, to be poured over by a small staff. Tony taps a few keys on a deck. Most were understood to have been purged in the collapse, shut down, depressurized, even sent on collision trajectories with other bodies. Pauses. Though I suspect that last one is a little too far-fetched. I've heard people deny they even exist, that we are misreading the data, that the evidence doesn't hold. Junito turns the deck screen to face you, but I found one. You see a map, a set of coordinates on the sunward side of Holmes Rock, the edge of the belt. Why are these bunkers so important? We are talking masses of records from the collapse, the kind lost to bit rot everywhere else in the belt. Bunkers are what they sound like, closed facilities intended to preserve data. Any one of these bunkers is a gold mine. Jin pauses, at least from a data archaeologist's perspective. She sees your reaction, and Juni adds, hoping to convince you. In truth, we don't know what else is in there. There could be Solheim tech, blueprints, data never been seen in the belt. We should take a look. I'll give Seraphim the details. She smiles. We could be making history here. And thank you, Sleeper. Jin bows her head a little. I never would have found this without the core you gave me. I understand that was a sacrifice on your part. Now is the time to claim the rewards. We leave Junie in the storage bay, working obsessively through the data. It's hard to know through all the excitement what the real value of one of these bunker facilities might be. But if they are as well hidden as Junie said, there must be a reason. When there's time, you hope to find out what that reason is. Lobman-cratered Holmes Rock floats on the sunward side of the belt. Its only notable feature the bright shapes of its solar arrays, angled towards the system's distant star. Can't even dock the rig here. Seraphim nods at the bright shape of Holmes Rock's lone docking bay. Won't fit. We have to park here and go out the airlock. He seems repulsed by the idea. What is this place? Was a Solheim relay station once. Now it's a way station of some sort. Seraphim squints at the rock. Never heard of much happening here, really. Barely seems worth a trip down. Bliss speaks up from the back of the cockpit. You never know. I guess Bliss yawns, but don't expect to turn up any jobs all the way out here. I'll come down later. Don't be like squeezing into a suit right now. Bliss gives a lazy wave as they glide out of the cockpit. Eugene pokes his head into the cockpit. Den gibt's ja auch noch. The rock down there got a bar? He looks between you and Seraphim. No idea. Seraphim sighs. Looks dead. Eugene squints out of the cockpit windows. I see a few warm lights. He shrugs. I bet there's a bar. He disappears in the direction of the airlock. He gazes out over Holmes Rock. It certainly doesn't look very exciting, but there's refueling to be done and maybe more besides. He might even be able to scare up a whole meal. You know, Sleeper, the loading freighter means we aren't far from Wellspring. Seraphim gives you a sideways glance. Yes, sister, I haven't forgotten. Alright then. Seraphim smiles. I appreciate it. I heard the pressure of the war in the inner system is having an effect on how the Logic Syndicate is being run. Just want to get there before something big goes down. He turns back to his console. Look out at the Logic freighter. painted the same distinctive yellow as the spring-tied back on the far spindle. We've heard they supply most of the water in the belt, not exactly an organization you want to collapse. A light catches your eye beyond the rock, a warm flash that is gone as soon as it appears. You're at the sunward edge here, and beyond is the inner system. Holmes Rock might look sleepy, but it lies on the shores of a corporate war, something residents will be painfully aware of. Okay. Hier dann. Weiter.